Hello and welcome to the April 2016 edition of Made in Lincoln UK. This is a social interactive video magazine documentary programme reflecting and promoting Lincoln District life and events.
My name's Jeremy Cullimore. I'm the priest in charge of 3 parishes along Lincoln High Street. St Mary de Wingford is the oldest church in Lincoln, Saxon Tower, lovely place, full of wonderful relics from the lost churches of Lincoln. St Botophs, where we're standing now, was very nearly a lost church. It dates back to the 12th century and was a very important church. St Botolph was the patron saint of travellers before the entirely fictional St Christopher was invented, and you tend to get St Botolph's churches on the edge of cities. Now that was a problem when the Earl of Manchester brought the Roundheads up to Lincoln and trashed the place in 1644. And lead theft is not a new thing. The Roundheads took all the lead off the roof of the church to make musket balls, and that meant that in 1648, in the middle of divine service, the roof started to creak and groan, lumps fell off, everybody ran out, nobody was hurt thankfully, and the roof fell in. It stayed like that until 1721, when the local parishioners got permission to rebuild the church, the little one just behind us, much more modest than the original one, using a lot of the wreckage from the old church. And inside St Botolph's now we have a number of corbels and little bits, which is rather lovely. Chatting about the heritage potential in the south of Lincoln. Everybody comes to Lincoln, they go to the top of the hill, they see this lovely Norman cathedral with its ensuite castle that was built to oppress us down here in the south of the city. We thought we would try and create a heritage trail, and I spoke to Chris Houghton at the Priory, St Catherine's Church, which is a former Methodist church built just outside the city so they could be away from the pubs. And we said, there's such a good story here. This is where the tank was made. This is where the people who built the tanks and built all those aircraft lived. There's so much history here, Roman milestones and so on and so forth. We should make more of it. So we came up with this plan of a heritage trail running south. And on this heritage trail, this clothesline running down the old Roman road, the high street if you like, we wanted to hang a number of community cohesion projects, because here in Park Ward, so many people have come to make Lincoln their home from many other parts of the country. But the opportunity came up to have this community archaeological dig to sort of kick the whole of this strand of a heritage trail with community cohesion activities, to kick it off, and this is it. And it's wonderful to see, firstly, some really interesting finds on here only the second day, but also to see school children, to see experts coming, giving their knowledge and involving the local people who are getting down in their high visibility and on their hands and knees with a trowel, learning about archaeology and really engaging in it. So the hope is this heritage trail will be more than just marking things for tourists to come and see, but will help the local people get a feeling of ownership for the place they now call home.
Hello, my name's Zoe Tomlinson. I'm a community archaeologist and a finds specialist, and I'm working on a dig at St Botolph's Church on the Lower High Street in Lincoln at the moment. It's a community dig, and we are really encouraging local schools and the local community to get involved. And there's an opportunity here for anyone to get involved in the trench, to do finds processing, to help with the sieving, to help with the school kids. It's based in the community along the High Street.
This piece of medieval roof tile, possibly from a building on this site, or possibly it came in with some of the infill. But you can see how the centre is dark and the outside is cooked, essentially, the colour we would expect tile to be, and this is because the oxygen wasn't reaching the centre of the tile when it was fired, so it didn't change colour. This is something we see very typically from this time period.
This is typical of what we found on this excavation. There's some really nice things like this piece of medieval roof tile. This kind of lump on it is called a nib, and they change through time. So this one, this particular shape, it's on a corner, is probably something like 14th century. But you can date them, the tiles, from the shape and size of the nib. And we've got another piece there. It's quite an interesting piece of tile. Got part of a nib on it, probably much later, but very interesting. We've got some handmade brick, and we've got a bit of modern water pipe. This tray, got some nice pottery here. These two pieces actually joined together because of a nice little jar, which is Victorian or maybe a bit earlier. We have some oyster shell, which would have been someone's dinner, the remains of someone's dinner. Again, a bit of bone from food debris. Again, you can see more tile.
But the stuff she used to bring in, she used to play with the pasta. Yes.
This circle with the element of earth. I cleanse this circle with the element of earth. I cleanse this circle with the element of earth. I cleanse this circle with the element of earth. I cleanse this circle with the element of earth. I cleanse this circle with the element of earth. I cleanse this circle with the element of earth. Cleanse this circle with the element of earth. Cleanse this circle with the element of earth.
Well. I cleanse this circle with the element of fire. I cleanse this circle with the element of fire. I cleanse this circle with the element of fire. I cleanse this circle with the element of fire. I cleanse this circle with the element of fire. I cleanse this circle with the element of fire. I cleanse this circle with the element of fire. I cleanse this circle with the element of fire.
Cleanse this circle with the element of air. Cleanse this circle with the element of air. Cleanse this circle with the element of air. I cleanse this circle with the element of air. I cleanse this circle with the element of air. Cleanse this circle with the element of air. I cleanse this circle with the element of air.
I cleanse this circle with the element of water. I cleanse this circle with the element of water. I cleanse this circle with the element of water. I cleanse this circle with the element of water. I cleanse this circle with the element of water.
I cast this circle and ask for the protection of the spirits, that will be a meeting place of love and joy and truth, a shield against all wickedness and evil, a boundary between men and the realms of the mighty spirits. We do this with perfect love and perfect trust. I now pronounce this circle closed. So mote it be.
So mote it be.
The wheel of the year turns once more, and the virtual equinox arrives. Light and darkness are equal, and the soil begins to change. The earth wakens from its slumber, and new life springs forth once more. The sun draws even closer to us, greeting the earth with its welcoming rays. Light and dark are equal, and the sky is filled with light and warmth. The sun warms the land beneath our feet and gives life to all in its path. Spring has come, for this we all are thankful. The divine is present all around. In the cool fall of a rainstorm, in the tiny buds of the flower, in the down of a newborn chick, in the fertile fields waiting to be planted in the skies above, and in the earth below. We thank the universe for all it has to offer us, and so are blessed to be alive on this day. Welcome life, welcome light, and welcome spring.
Let us begin by giving peace to the directions.
Let there be peace in the north. Let there be peace in the east. Let there be peace in the south. Let there be peace in the east. Best.
Let there be peace throughout the whole world.
We ask for the spirits of the four directions to join us, and we ask for their love, protection and blessings.
Spirits of the east, spirits of air, awaken us with the spring breeze, fill our lungs and join us in celebration of the endless renewal of light and life. Hail and welcome.
Hail and welcome. Spirits of south, spirits of fire, warm us with the rising sun, quicken our hearts and join us in celebration of the unfolding of the earth. Hail and welcome.
Hail and welcome.
Spirits of the west, spirits of water, wash us in your gentle rain, revive our longing and join us in celebration of boundless possibility. Hail and welcome.
Hail and welcome. Spirits of the north, spirits of the earth, clothe us in the finery of the new growth. Support our steps and join us in celebration of the world made green again. Hail and welcome.
Hail and welcome.
The spring equinox. This is a time of balance, a time of equal light and dark. The sun is growing stronger with every day as we emerge from the icy prison of winter. This is now the greening, the fragrance of the spring flowers drifting on the breeze. This is the beginning. The god stretches and rises, eager in his youth, and bursting with the promise of summer. This is also the time when many crops are sown, or we are waiting for the budding of fruit trees. So let us give thanks and ask the Earth Mother for her blessings.
Holy Mother Earth, yours is the power to grow, to destroy, to give birth. We conjure you now, by seed and by shoot, by flower and fruit, by light and by love, from below and above in your ancient names, Kore, Demeter, Persephone. Grant us the blessings of your body. Thank you for the blessings of your body.
Mother Earth, take the seed and give it birth. Father, Son, gleam and glow, until the roots begin to grow. Sister Rain, shed thy tears to swell the grain. Brother Wind, breathe and blow, then the blade green will grow. Earth and sun and wind and rain turn to gold, the living grain.
Hail to thee, Earth, Mother of men, be thou fruitful in nature's embrace, filled with food for the use of honourable men, and drink for the blood of the just.
This is a magical time of the year. It is the gateway to summer. The spring maiden has awoken and is in a hurry to make her mark and fill our fields with bounty. The birds are looking for mates and nesting sites. Lambs are in the fields, and everywhere you look, the cycle of new life goes on as the wheel turns. The Earth Mother and the spirits are with us always, not just in the time of spring and summer and harvest time, but throughout the whole cycle of the wheel.
I look to the east, and I see you in the early morning dawn. I feel you in the fragrant wind that sweeps across the land in the springtime of the year. I look to the south, and I see you in the high sun of noon. I feel you in the rippling heat that shimmers in the desert lands in the summer of the year. I look to the west, and I see you in the twilight of the evening. I feel you in the waterfalls that tumble down the hillsides in the autumn of the year. I look to the north, and I see you in the starry skies of night. I feel you in the standing stones left by glaciers long ago in the winter of the night. Winter of the year.
You never hunger.
You never hunger.
Hail Mother, hail Earth, Mother of all, may your fields increase and flourish, your forests grow and spread, and your waters run pure and free. Accept our offering, O Earth Mother, bring forth that which is good and sustaining for every living thing.
Spirits of the east, the element of air, we thank you for your attendance and protection. We bid you hail and farewell.
Hail and farewell.
Spirits of the south, the element of fire, we thank you for your attendance and protection. We bid you hail and farewell.
Hail and farewell. Spirits of the west, the element of water, we thank you for your attendance and protection. We bid you hail and farewell.
Hail and farewell.
Spirits of the north, the element of earth, we thank you for your attendance and protection. We bid you hail and farewell.
Hail and farewell. Before we break the circle, can we all say a prayer for peace for the world in this present time of unrest, war and ethnic hatred? All together, please. I pray for peace. I pray for love. I pray for stability.
I pray that love may overcome fear, and I send energy of love and peace for all the people of the world. I create it, I accept it, and I receive it. By my will, so mote it be.
I open this circle and return it to the mundane world. But let us not forget the love and fellowship and spiritual bond we have shared together and take it with us into our everyday lives. I now declare the circle to be open and the ritual closed. Merry meet, merry part, and merry meet again, and blessed be.
Hello, my name is Hannah Cawthorne. I'm exhibiting my artwork here at the gallery at St Martin's. Here's another one of my photo abstract images. This was actually taken in Budapest, which is a city I go to a lot because it's where my husband's from, and I lived there myself for 5 years. So this is just a little bit, I think it was a piece of wall that was just covered in graffiti, and you can see there's sort of layers of graffiti and then posters that have been ripped and scratches into the material. So all of these things are the kind of things that I like to make my subject matter. Okay, so this is another image of graffiti that I took in Budapest as well. This was actually, I have a friend in Budapest that's a graphic designer and a graffiti artist, and he tipped me off to a really good location where there's loads of different graffiti artists doing work. So I went down there and got this image. I think this was actually just on a sort of pylon by the side of the road. It's actually quite a small thing. Wasn't a big piece of graffiti at all, it was something really small. This image is one of my composites, as I call them. So it's actually 3 images sort of spliced together using Photoshop. I did a few like this, I didn't do lots, but so this is a mixture of things. This is quite useful if you have sort of an image that doesn't work overall, but it's got strong elements. So we've got just a bit of wood there with peeling paint, and again a sort of bit of corrugated iron with peeling paint, and then a little bit of graffiti down the bottom. So this is another composite image, 2 different images spliced together. The top half is actually the side of a boat with all the sort of layers of peeling paint that you get on those, kind of below the waterline, and that's actually where I started the whole abstract photography thing, was seeing boats in dry dock and seeing the sort of amazing colours and textures that you could see on their hulls, where they've just every winter been scraped away and then repainted, quite often like really different colours every year. So that's the top half. And then the bottom half is again an image from Budapest. It's quite a well-known coffee shop, Ibuya Espresso coffee shop, that's well known for sort of maintaining its decor from like the sort of 70s communist era, and I just really love the shapes on their sign. So this is another one of the images that's sort of 3 things spliced together. On the right hand side, the yellowy red bit it's actually a private house in Budapest, because I find that in that part of the world they do paint their houses like really nice vibrant colours, so it's a good place to get material. And then the stuff on the left was from an old derelict warehouse down in Exeter in Devon, where I used to live. Okay, so this is another one of my images. This is actually a painting that I've done, because there's sort of 2 lots of work in the exhibition at the moment. One side is my photography, and then I'm also a sort of abstract painter and drawer. So this is the painting side. And I think there's sort of a connection with the photography, and that is the photography, I think, what I find interesting is kind of things that were created almost by chance, by accident. So these things that I find, that I photograph, are things that weren't created to look beautiful. They were, created with a kind of a purpose in mind, or just happened by accident. And my art's a bit like that too. It's a lot about experimenting. I never really know what image I'm going to produce when I start. I just sort of put paintbrush to paper without really thinking about it too much at the beginning, and then gradually something emerges. And with this is sort of a collage actually, and I spent ages deciding how I was going to arrange those bluey green shapes on the yellow shapes, and then in the end I just kind of randomly chucked them down, and which I was a bit scared about doing actually. I wasn't sure if it would look as good as something that I'd arranged myself, but I'm actually really pleased with the result. And I do have this sort of belief that things that are done kind of randomly without any sort of aesthetic design, often somehow they look better than things that you spend ages carefully placing. And so that's kind of what this picture was about. It's kind of an experiment in a way. Okay, so this is another one of my images that just started life, like a lot of them do, as a sort of layer of acrylic paint that I just paint really quickly, and then I start looking for sort of motifs and things that come out of it. And actually what emerged in this one, sort of, they're almost like in a bit of a Where's Wally way, there is actually a couple of whales in this picture and a dragon, so I called it the hero's dream. And there's also something that kind of looks like a boat, so I kind of like this idea of things that maybe kind of emerge from your subconscious, these sort of shapes that suddenly take form and actually look like something tangible. So yeah, I sometimes do that in my pictures, that they are largely abstract, but every now and again I'll sort of pick out a shape that sort of resembles a real world thing. So yeah, so that's the main thing, I guess, that's going on in this particular image. So this is another one of these sort of small abstracts. The thing I haven't mentioned about all of them yet is that they're all done on card that previously held like material samples. So I picked it up in a scrap store, and I actually used the material for another project I was doing. But I found that the card that had the material on it had these really interesting kind of textural patches left behind once the material was taken off. And that's what I've used as the sort of backdrop for all these pictures. And I don't know if it's coming across, but there are in this one very clear squares where the material was, and that's kind of what became the motif. Again, I set off without any clear plan of what this image was going to be, but yeah, I picked up the sort of square motif and made these kind of 3D shapes appear. I'm really interested in sci-fi and all stuff to do with space travel and things like that, and I think so I've called this picture Into the Beyond, because for me it's got like a kind of classic era of sci-fi kind of feel to it. But again, that was something that just emerged as the picture was taking shape. It wasn't kind of planned by me at all. But again, I think maybe that's kind of my subconscious coming through in the work that I do. So another one of my small kind of paintings on the sample card. This is one I did quite recently, actually. I really like this one. But again, it's just motifs and shapes that emerge. I think this one was kind of dictated by, when I did the sort of underpainting with acrylic, I kind of created these sort of round shapes, and then gradually what came out was almost sort of like pebbles sort of effect. So I called this one Stepping Stones. I was just talking about it with the gallery owner today, actually. We were talking about how it was really, really bright all over at first, but then I kind of painted a layer of grey over some parts of it so that the colourful bits would sort of pop out a bit more, which I think has been fairly successful. And yeah, so this one is Stepping Stones. This is sort of where it all started in a way, because I noticed that if you take pictures of the sides of boats, what you get is something that kind of looks like a classic Rothko composition of the sort of three big kind of colour fields. And I'm a massive fan of Rothko. He's probably my favourite painter, so that just really started firing my imagination about how you could make kind of abstract images out of things that you just see walking around every day. So yeah, this is quite a formative piece of work, I guess, in the whole sort of abstract art thing that I do. Yeah, it was just like it all clicked into place one day, and this was one of those images that helped do that for me. So this is another one of my abstract photographic images, but this one isn't typical in a way, in that you can see quite clearly a bit of the sort of context of what it is. You can see it's sort of a wooden door, and there's like a keyhole in there and things like that. Yeah, so I just sometimes I guess I do that. I step back a bit and give it a bit more of a context, but you can see here quite clearly, I guess, some of my key themes. This idea that a guy, just a workman, has come along and just painted over some graffiti and like slapped a bit of paint around, but he's actually created something like really quite beautiful, I think, but did it completely unthinkingly. So that's what I really like about this image. I actually entered this into the Warrington Contemporary Photography Open, and I won runner-up with this, so I was really chuffed with that. So this is another one of my small abstract pictures on sample card. This was one of the first ones I did, actually, where this sort of way of working emerged, where I just worked really quickly and without much of a plan, and sort of to see what would come about. Yeah, and just really found it very liberating, this way of working. This one's actually just got quite a lot of pencil in it as well. I just almost kind of scribbled on it as I went. But yeah, it sort of added a nice bit of texture as well. And yeah, so this is, I guess I've been doing sort of variations on a theme ever since. The sample card on this one is particularly sort of evident and quite crinkly and sort of ripped in places. And yeah, I just really like the extra layer of texture it brings. And also you can sort of clearly see some of the text that was on the original sample card. I quite like using text in images as well. I think it can really add another dimension. So yeah, this is one of my favourites actually. I just really like the colours, and I think this image just really works. It's kind of hard to say why, but in my opinion, yeah, it just all hangs together really nicely. Okay, so this is another quite early one of the abstract photographs that I took. This is just one of those occasions where you just find this absolutely amazing subject matter that you just stumble across. And this was actually taken in a place called Kotor, which is a little city in Montenegro. We were on holiday in Croatia and just went over the border into Montenegro for one afternoon. And it's a really beautiful little city with some really old areas. And just wandering around in one of the back streets, there was these like wooden window shutters that had just been painted and repainted like probably tens if not hundreds of times. And then for some reason somebody had like kind of scratched them, and that's what you've got here. Yeah, it's just created this amazing texture. Lots of people sort of, this is one of the images that people kind of see lots of things in. People keep telling me all the time it looks like trees and branches of trees and things like that, or some people see like a sort of almost like a maritime thing in it, which, you know, I really like when people have these kind of ideas about it, but obviously like that wasn't there for me when I took the picture. I just saw this amazing textured shape, you know. I think the way my brain works, I just like abstract things, so I'm not necessarily looking for images in them, but you know, I'm really pleased when other people kind of have that response to the work as well. I think that's really interesting as well.
Well, there we go. That wraps it up for this edition. Now remember, this is your video platform. If you have any ideas or topics or issues that you feel would be of interest to the people throughout the Lincoln district, then get in touch with me and I'll put it in the big picture.